Well, hello everyone. I've decided to do something a little different for the AJA Shabbat message this week and record it. This week's Parsha is Parsha Noach, and as the name suggests, it begins with the story of Noach. So I'd like to focus on a phrase that's right up the front of this week's Parsha when it introduces Noach. It describes him as an ish tzaddik, and then it goes on to say Haya b'doratav. In other words, he was a righteous man, and the Torah specifies in his generation. Now we learn that no words are wasted in the Torah. Why didn't it just say that he was a righteous man? Why did it have to put in the qualifier in his generation? Well, the commentators, the sages, have given a couple of different interpretations of this, and indeed Rashi, who's the foremost commentator on the Torah in this Parsha, gives both sides of the interpretation, namely that Noah existed in a generation where there was evil all around him, and in order to be good when there is evil all around you requires something really special. So that's a positive interpretation, that he might have been like a super tzaddik. The other interpretation is the opposite. And it says that, well, okay, he was righteous compared to his generation, but if he had existed in another generation, say the generation of Abraham, then he wouldn't have been so special. So, he wasn't such a great tzaddik, only in comparison with those around him. So how do we resolve this? And there is a possible resolution that came from personal notes of the Lubavitcher Rebbe that was discovered after he died. Now, it's a little bit speculative, but we know that next to this commentary, in his own handwriting, he had written the words Nerot Hanukkah candles. That's why I've got the prop there behind me to remind you of this message. So what was the Rebbe saying by writing the words Nerot Hanukkah next to this commentary? Well, we learn that the way that we use Hanukkah candles is that it's supposed to be on public display. In your home, you're supposed to have the Hanukkah at a window that is visible from the outside. Many communities light Hanukkah menorahs in parks, in public squares, in shopping centres, etc. It's a public display, it's a public message, as opposed to Shabbat candles, which are done privately in the home. So one possible interpretation is that we have no record in the Torah of Noah actually exerting his influence for good anywhere outside his own family. There is no record of him communicating with those in the generation that were evil in order to bring them onto the path of good. So it may well be that the Lubavitch Rebbe had resolved the conflict in the different interpretations of the commentary in the negative, namely that while Noah was righteous within his own private confines, he lacked the characteristics of Nerot Hanukkah, of Hanukkah candles, that is a public outward expression, outreach, if you like. So the lesson for us, and there's a lesson in everything in the Torah, but the lesson for us seems to be that, okay, be good in your own private environment, but really, at least as important, is to try to be an influence for good without your private environment, outside your private environment, if you like. So Shabbat Shalom, to our members, to our friends, to our readers, and may we all find a way to extend our influence for good as widely as possible. Thank you very much for listening.